first of all, people that don't like gay parades, which I've never been to a gay parade, I don't care for them, but people who don't like gay parades don't need to go to gay parades. As far as hiring a homosexual person, I don't know of anyone that's required to hire someone because they're homosexual. In fact, I'm sure the law says that you just can't take sexual orientation into consideration when hiring someone. And that's only in 21 states. 29, you can still hire someone if they're gay. And that's why gay and lesbians are trying to pass this employment, I shouldn't say gays and lesbians, and anybody who's really reasonable are trying to pass the Employment Non-Discrimination Act so that people can't be fired just for being gay. In terms of homosexual marriage, if a person doesn't believe in gay marriage, they don't have to have one. So as far as gays adopting, if gay people adopt children, and there are thousands and thousands of children who need adoptive parents, it doesn't keep straight people from adopting children. So there's not any of these things that you've said so far that I see as an attack on you. It seems more like you are trying to restrict gays and lesbians from having rights that you enjoy as a heterosexual person.
Okay. I hear the argument. Yeah, good. But we don't live in isolated little bubbles. We live in a society that does overlap, that our lives do touch each other. And our words are engaging right now. Our lives are interwoven. If we were to live, each of us, on little moons of the earth, I suppose it could be said any of these moons can operate in the way they will. But marriage is the foundation, it's the building block of civilization. Without strong marriages, strong families, we crumble. What we experienced in 1992 in South Central Los Angeles was the destruction of civilization because marriages had already gone by the board in that overwhelmingly over welfare area. Yeah. So so we lost civilization for a time. I would hate to see that. I'm sure we all here would.
Brian Kraemer, a Christian gay man who has done everything he can, and he says, to try to stop his lifestyle, to change, to become a straight man. But he believes that Christ still blesses his lifestyle and thinks that it's okay. And also Father Hansen, Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Church, and they've been discussing for 2 days. If you've not been able to listen, you just tuned in by accident, maybe you were channel surfing, go to kkxx.net, go to our podcast and listen to yesterday's show. Very engaging, very intriguing. Likewise, today's. We're going to try to wrap up the discussion now, the best we can. I'm going to let Brian, take it away. There's something you wanted to respond to with Father Hansen before the last break came.
I'd say listen to Tuesday's show before even yesterday's.
Today's show,
because Brian set out his life by himself there.
Exactly. Tuesday, Brian really opened up, and he was here by himself, and he spoke, and then the two came on Wednesday, and then, of course, today.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to what Father Hansen just said. First of all, as of today, there are 5 states that have legalized same-sex marriage: Connecticut, Iowa, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and then District of Columbia, not a state, but the District of Columbia. In all of these states, the thoughts of the people about gay marriage has become more positive toward gay marriage after the law changed, making it legal for same-sex people to be married. And part of the reason it's become more favorable toward gays and lesbians being able to marry is because they found that life continued for them the same as before. Their heterosexual marriages were not destroyed. Civilization was not lost. There was nothing major that happened. The 2 guys next door are married now, okay, but my own marriage hasn't been changed at all. So I'm not sure where that really goes in terms of what you were saying.
Is it fair to say, Brian, or Father Hansen, that maybe what the church is concerned about is that eventually, it's the slippery slope theory, that eventually it's going to come in and churches are going to be required to say that it's okay to have, they want to have a gay marriage because it's a beautiful church over at St. John the Baptist Church, which is a beautiful church. Well, they're afraid that the law is going to eventually say, you don't have to oversee it, but if they want to use your church, that should be allowed. That, I think, is the fear that a lot of people have in the Christian community about this.
One of them, yeah. I mean, certainly we are in a situation where if the laws in California were to change back to what that Supreme Court ruling had set it at, we're in a question as to whether we perform marriages anymore, because we morally and scripturally we are on one basis, and the law could force us to do as we say and support or host a gay marriage that came and requested it of us, or we're going to get embroiled in some sort of a civil rights lawsuit. Just a minute, Brian. The slippery slope, or the sort of the long range issue. I'm sure that in a couple of years, Connecticut doesn't know if it's really got a good thing going, or where this is going to go altogether. The welfare system didn't know what it was going to do to marriages in South Central Los Angeles, as I cited, and yet completely unintended intentions or results were had when you have almost enforced single mom families throughout a whole region, where 70-80% of all families are without fathers, because the welfare check needed to have no man present in a home where poverty and support of children was sort of necessitated a lifestyle. This little thing ultimately set up a powder keg that sociologists, psychologists can look at and say, you've got a lot of angry young men here who are trying to get family out of a non-family situation, completely unintended, but this was not supposed to happen, yet it did. You got an explosion of and 4,000 buildings in Los Angeles burnt to the ground, and a lot of people died. What was that? I'm not trying to say that's going to be the result of a homosexual marriage, but I don't know what the result of that is. I simply say that the pattern has been set for us, and when you get outside of that, at least in some other regards, we've seen bad results.
I want to say that just recently, a Supreme Court decision protected the rights of a religious man I deplore, but his name is Fred Phelps, and he's of the God Hates Fags club. And it shows just how far the Supreme Court is willing, and I think rightly so, to protect people's religious freedom. In all of these states...
But I have to interrupt, Brian. That could change. All it takes is a few Supreme Court justices to change on the bench, and suddenly that could change. I want to let you finish, I promise. Father Hansen made a point which you're reasonable. When speaking to you, I hear you're a reasonable person. I think what Father Hansen would point out is, or maybe other people would say, there are people who agree with you who aren't as reasonable, who will want to push it to the next step and say, and take the slope further down and force religion to change its mores, its beliefs, its morals to accommodate what some call a sort of the Bible is like a living constitution where it's always changing given the times. And I think you're reasonable, but some people on your side of the aisle might not be. And then if you could answer that and then go on to the point you wanted to make.
Well, I just want to say that no minister is required to perform a same-sex marriage. And there are so many protections for people's religious rights. I don't think there's any danger soon of this kind of thing happening. I think that's just a fear, and it's an unwarranted fear. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. I mean, I hear from those who do have that fear. And it's not a fear of homosexuality. It's not a phobia, like a homophobic thing. I think it's a fear that, not that they don't trust you, but they don't trust their government to be able to make the right decisions, that they're going to continue because political pressure will be put on them and that churches will be required to do this. I realize that you're reasonable, but I talked to a pastor in this town who used the word homophobic to describe people who disagreed with him, who thought it was a sin, and I think that's the fear that some have.
Okay, so let's go there. Let's say that the law became that you, as an Anglican preacher, minister, was required to do same-sex marriage. Mm-hmm. Well, you just refuse to do it.
Mm-hmm. And
be fined and face a fine?
Or, right.
Face a fine, maybe a $2,000 fine?
Deal with a 3-year lawsuit.
Again, we're going down
I've been sued.
We're going down a road of a what if, and it just seems so remote. I can't see the usefulness of going down this line of argument.
I understand. Okay, I understand. But now we have about 2 or 3 minutes left. Let's kind of wrap up the thoughts. And Brian, why don't you go ahead? What do you want to say to kind of?
I just want to.
You know what?
You don't have to.
We don't have to. The music is. We're gonna bring you guys back on again sometime. We're gonna give this a break. Did you guys feel you both had a chance to make most of your points you wanted?
No, but I'm very happy with the show, and I'm happy with Brian here as a friend.
Brian, you have about 10 seconds.
I'm very happy with Father Hansen. I'm glad to be here.
All right.